Welcome to RHI Sociable City Interviews, where we meet with global thought leaders on nightlife and the social economy. Today, we are joined by Jamie Kent, a key voice fighting for independent venues and artists across Tennessee. As a triple threat artist, lobbyist, and founder of a communications agency, Kent's work has helped drive campaigns to pass multiple pieces of legislation at both the state and local level. Most recently, Kent helped lead the charge on legislation to establish Tennessee's Live Music Fund and a new partnership to create free parking for Nashville's musicians.
Hey, Jamie, it's great to meet with you. I had fun meeting you in Nashville, and it seems like you're a real mover and shaker in the whole music, particularly the independent music sector in Nashville as well as elsewhere. So please explain, what is your a little bit of background of who you are and what is your involvement with the independent music sector in Nashville?
Yeah, so I spent the better part of a decade on the road as an independent artist, full time. Feels like another life now, but music is at my core. I was singer-songwriter, traveled the country and the world for a lot of years doing that. Along the way, I launched a music marketing company that was sort of complementary to what I was doing as an independent artist and the brands I was working with. And COVID had changed a lot for a lot of people, right? But there was a silver lining to me that it shifted my music marketing business into really more of a music advocacy business. It Seeing what was happening in the industry and a lot of my friends out of work, it lit a fire under me, wanting to improve our lives for our music industry does so well here in Nashville, but I really wanted to focus on the music community and the people in it and making sure that they were taken care of, because I think COVID shined a spotlight that like our venues and our independent artists uh, are a lot more vulnerable than maybe people realized. So my business, the BAM Group, shifted and became more of an advocacy agency, and we do communications, we do press, we do storytelling, videography, you name it. We like to capture stories, coalition build, and really kind of market movements, for lack of a better word, that build towards policy change. So I also have a second company called Backstage Strategies, and that is a government relations business rooted in music, arts, and entertainment. And oftentimes, these two companies come together and work hand in hand towards building the movement on one side and then executing policy change on the other, that the movement is building towards. So it's sometimes it's hard to describe to people. A lot of people know me as one of those things, but I wear a lot of hats, both, I guess, physically and metaphorically here.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'll share with you when we did our virtual summit, because we couldn't do it in person, four cities, actually five cities, created documentaries of the status of their industry in 2020. December 2020 is when they filmed it. I'll share that link with you because I tell you, when I watch those, I still cry. Just this, it was just documenting. Remember, December 2020, there was no vaccine, no hope of vaccine, all the venues were closed. And these people were telling their real stories. I mean, it's an amazing series of documentaries. I'll share that with you. But Nashville claims, and its domain is Music City. So what makes Nashville a music city besides the fact that they have music?
I think that it's baked into our DNA in every way as a city. So we are not only is so much of the music industry here on Music Row, the labels, the publishing companies, the marketing companies that go with them. But we also have this incredible tourist destination mecca that is rooted in music and live music and entertainment within Broadway. So uh, you have this sort of full ecosystem. We have the industry that's exporting music to the rest of the world, but then we have music that's attracting the rest of the world to Nashville. And you have just thousands and thousands of creatives either living here or moving here every year with a guitar and a dream, because all of those opportunities exist. And I think that I had the opportunity to spearhead a Nashville music census last year, where we collected data from the entire music community and ecosystem here to really say prove that we are a music city in a sense. And we were part of a 20 city cohort that did that. We got twice the respondents of any other city. And then it showed that 20% of the folks in the music industry here are making over $200,000 a year in music, which shows that the dream is alive and well. You can come here and the opportunities exist to make a lot of money doing music. And then it also showed that the rest of it we're working 3 to 4 gigs within the music industry to make a living. And that's also the reality here. But it's a hustle. It's a dream, right? You're chasing it, but this city provides more opportunities to chase that dream while also doing the dream, which is kind of interesting, right? So a million people want to be the next Garth Brooks here, and they might bartend, they might uh, play 3 days a week, they might songwrite and get a song placed on a TV show, and it's a hustle of piecing together things, or maybe they're working crew on an arena show at Nissan or Bridgestone. But they're able to be in the industry and learn the craft and trade while also hustling and being around all of these people, because it's still a small town. In the end, we're under 1 million people here. So that bartender that is working in most of your establishments, they are probably musicians as well, and they are getting to meet other musicians through working in that, and they write songs together and they network, and they go and run into a record label executive at the grocery store, because that's how small the town still is. And I think that's why, we own the trademark of Music City, but really why we back it up too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's exciting. Yeah, something we mentioned before, and it brings it up, this struggle that people have in the industry, and you have that kind of one day I'm going to play Madison Square Garden, and then the other is, just hustling as a bartender to get a gig to make, $50 or whatever it is. And that probably puts some pressure on people who are striving. And we brought up the fact that there is concern about the mental health of some of the people who are in this kind of treadmill of trying to be successful. And you had mentioned something about the Country Music Association as being one of the advocates for trying to draw attention to this issue. From your perspective, what do you see happening, and what is Nashville doing? Because that's a session we want to feature in Nashville is, just how to help not only people in the music industry, but also the bartenders and the servers and the others in the hospitality industry who are challenged. So, what do you see happening, and what's something that's going on in Nashville?
I think that's a great question, and something I always think of like our problems. We have different categories of, is it an industry problem? Is it a community problem? And I think that problem you're talking about is both, right? It's both an industry problem and a community problem, because the industry generally cares about the ROI in the end of the day. But I think it's starting to realize that the toll this business takes on its performers and its people is heavy. And if they don't take care of them, they'll lose them. And so that's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm seeing the shift. And I'm fortunate enough to have been a recent graduate of the leadership music program, and I'm in talking with the industry. It's of top concern, and they're all coming together. CMA, I think, invested 700 grand in it this last year, but a lot of folks are doing it. There's some amazing nonprofits that are growing because of this. There's one in town called Porter's Call that offers free counseling services for musicians. Music Cares has some amazing programs locally, especially in terms of emergency relief or folks that are in dire straits. And then down to other nonprofits and organizations. I represent NEVA and the Music Venue Alliance of Nashville here in town, and the Music Venue Alliance Nashville and the Musicians Union just joined forces to advocate for creating free parking for the music community. And they partnered with Metropolis, the biggest private parking company here, and got them to agree to provide free parking to members of both organizations in 25 different lots around the city. And while that may seem like not oh, it's free parking, how does that impact it? But it's the idea of an artist going down and hustling to make $100 in a night, but has to pay 50 to park. it's something that was impacting mental health. And I told you about that census. It was the number one complaint of the music community was parking in Nashville. And so
Yeah, yeah, no.
we're trying to address those quality of life issues in hopes that it will improve that mental health across the board.
Yeah, I know New Orleans is doing something similar, with the broader hospitality community and parking. And,
That's right.
clearly the other issue for musicians is loading zones. So you've got all of these, what might seem as mundane concepts for some people, but when you're trying to become a music city and you want to accentuate your live music, you have all of these barriers, which when we've done surveys in cities and we surveyed people in the music industry, it's always surprising that loading zones is always at the top of the list and safe parking for their vehicles because when they're touring, they have vans filled sometimes with hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment, and where do they park it where it's safe? So these are some of the challenges that people face. But beyond just the music and the musicians, you also have the independent sector, and COVID was devastating for the independent sector, and it's still struggling to come back. And NEVA's recent report, which really highlights the economic and employment and social value of the independent music venue sector, a lot of them are still struggling, and according to the report, many of them are not even making a profit from year to year. And so, how do you see the industry shaking out, and what are some of the biggest challenges for the industry?
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think that that the NEVA study, the state of live, the two biggest things that stood out to me were that the independent venue sector has greater economic impact than the beer industry, which is you never would think that, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, 64% of the independent venues last year were not profitable. So what that says is that this is an industry and a group of people that do this because they love it, for the passion of it, because they love their communities and they love this job more than anything else. And they're going to do it even if they're not making much money. And these venues have such a big impact on our community. Oftentimes, these are the first venues that move to a new neighborhood that then attract artists, which then attract more restaurants. And then soon, before you know it, you have an East Nashville where 10 years ago you could buy a house for 150 grand, and now that same house is $1 million. And oftentimes, those independent venues start that movement,
Mhm.
but then they get priced out because property taxes go up, rent goes up. Most of those venues are not building owners, they just rent. So this is the constant struggle. And when you have venues that are working on razor thin margins, there's not a lot of room for uh, prices to change and them to stay afloat. So I think this is a big problem that communities need to like address. Like I think there's a great example in Nashville. There's a venue called the Station Inn. It's a legendary bluegrass venue right in the middle of downtown. It's the gulch has grown around it, and now it looks like the house from the movie Up, where it's this one-story stone building surrounded by high rises. In a year and a half from now, the lease will be up. The building owner passed away. It's in his kids' hands now, and chances are they will get a $25 million offer on that building. So we have to decide as a community, how do we figure out how to preserve this space and make sure it doesn't go away? Because oftentimes a venue is not the best financial use of real estate, but it is the best use for community, for economic impact of other businesses around, for tourism, for culture. So these are the challenges, a growing city like Nashville faces and a music city faces. I personally think that they're a trend that I'm seeing in at least the small independent venues, I'll say like under 250 people, is businesses going nonprofit. And I've seen a lot of great venues make that transition over the last 5 years because, like you see in the NEVA State of Live, many are not profitable or are existing on a 1 or 2% margin. And so at that stage, it makes sense to just become a nonprofit organization, open up to more grant dollars, open up to
Mhm.
more uses during the day, like workshops, potential for lesson space, things like that, and try to reimagine what that small venue, because they really are community centers. So I think if you rethink of that in that way, that's a way that a lot of them may have a stronger chance of surviving as cities like Nashville grow.
Yeah, well, and as you look at that and you think about Nashville as a music city, clearly, you know, you also have festivals and community events, and people are drinking less alcohol, and young people are looking to spend $1,000 to listen to Taylor Swift in a live event than go out 5 times a week, which is what they used to do. So I think these are all combinations of challenges. The question will be who's going to be invited to Taylor Swift's wedding? I mean, really, are you on the short list or
I don't think so. That's going to be
boy,
quite
that's going to be an epic event. I mean, it's going to be
true. It's true.
it's going to be an amazing event. I
I'm
think
just trying
it'll
to push
overshadow Prince Diana's wedding in a lot of ways.
yeah, it's so
But
true.
again, I think that's part of the trend is you've got these performing artists that build big clientele. Many of them, like Bruce Springsteen, started as a busker in New Jersey, you know? I mean, and we like to look at the success of Bruce Springsteen, but we don't want to look at how do we help that busker, you know, be able to perform in the public space or have those small under 250 venues where that person can get their feet wet in a live performance. And so
That's
it's
right.
it's an interesting transition. I never really heard about it. I know of some nonprofit venues. I think in Providence there's one that was built around that performance venue as a nonprofit. But it's an interesting transition that you're talking about, and we'll see how that all plays out. So just to conclude here, knowing what you know about Nashville, if you were to have somebody come to you and say, "Hey, we want to become a music city," what are the three core components that make a city a music city?
Hmm. I think it is having great places to perform and gather. I think it is having great talent and folks to delve into, and then it's creating the environment for both of those things to thrive, so that it is easy to create new shows and spaces and venues, and it's easy to create, and it's a welcoming place to be there, to afford to live, to chase opportunities like that. I think that's ultimately what makes a music city. And I think that having a local government and business community that all is bought in on it together is key to that too. Because otherwise, the creative community feels that when they're not welcome or frowned upon in some way. Because policies reflect that. Some cities make it so you can only play a certain volume, or you can only play in certain areas. You can't park in a certain place. So the policies. They're subtle. People might not realize them, but that makes it welcoming or not. So those would be my thoughts, I think.
Yeah, well, it's all the little things. Well, this has been insightful, and you certainly are a great advocate for the music industry, and I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll have people who come to Nashville and really understand everything that you're talking about and what makes Nashville a music city, you know, and we're hoping to have a global audience, and I think it'll be an exciting event, and I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to welcoming y'all to Nashville and come experience what we got to offer. It's pretty amazing here.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me.
Okay.